welcome back to another episode of This Podcast Fits Your Macros. It's me, Coach Caileen, and across the way we've got Coach Ry. How are you doing, Coach Ry?
Oh, another day. I can't even talk in my first sentence, so it's going good so far.
Yeah, this is going to be a good podcast.
So far. How about you? What's going on over there?
Dude, thriving. Just the usual. Just got my lift in before this, so this is my post-workout glorious self.
I just got out of the sauna, so there you go. So we're both just fucking...
Sweaty Betties.
We just completed... That's what we do for you guys, We don't... No morals, no reason to fucking, be civil. No shower off before the podcast, none of that. Straight to business.
We don't work with anybody.
To teach you folks, right? Yeah, you know.
Good thing it's not 40 and you can't smell us.
It's actually better that it's podcast though. I mean, back in the day, right? In the gym, I mean, you must have been pumping sweat all day when you're doing that Group X stuff.
Oh God, yeah, it was horrible.
Right? Like,
oh man,
how many classes a day were you doing back then?
Well, I would do at least one class a day, plus my hour and a half long workout. And then sometimes because I was manager over all the classes too, if somebody bailed out because everybody sucks and didn't teach that class, I'd be like, well, I guess I'm teaching this class. And
you were in it, yeah. So basically, people knew, they knew you were working. Right? That's how I used to do it. Because I would be training clients back all day back in the day when I would train in the gym. I'd be there from 4 a.m. till 8 p.m. So, you know what? You just dealt with sweaty ass Coach Ry at that point. That was the way it was. It doesn't matter because my workout was my lunch break, So anyway, totally off topic. What are we talking about today?
Oh, we are talking all things my prep. Obviously, this is more of a general podcast for macros, but I mean, you guys have spoken. You want to know about it. Everybody wants to know everything about prep. It's exciting. I get it. So I'm willing to share it all with you, the good, the bad, the ugly. And today we're just going to go over everything from my last competition to now and the changes that we've made. Because, man, I've been competing. I've been doing this shit for, fucking 10 years now almost. Not many people can say that they've been competing for almost 10 years, but thanks to you, Coach Ry, I have been competing for 10 years. Oh, by the way, check this out. Woo! Got my Sugar Horse shirt.
There you go. Nice. See? And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how you can fit, some of your favorite food. Because Caileen, she's technically on prep now, which we'll go into in a minute. But she's still going to have Is It Worth the Macros today and everything else. But just to further highlight the point she was just making, with this, you guys, basically, I was thinking, we could follow along Caileen's journey a little bit. We could talk about what she's been doing, what she's doing, and what it's going to be like. And we'll do routine check-ins throughout her prep, on the podcast here. Talk a little bit more about the journey. Because one thing, too, that, is totally, it seems just like our everyday life, Caileen, that we know that, macros can be done on prep. But what's funny is there's still a huge part of the bodybuilding world that does not believe that or do that or is, stuck eating chicken and broccoli 7 times a day and thinking that's the way to live. So we're going to go, not only into the fact that Caileen's doing this with macros and everything else, but, just a lot about methods and everything else that we do and what she's learned over time. And it'll be valuable to anybody that competes or want to. So that's what today's episode's about. But, let's kick it off first with I think I saw this one in the preview of this week on your story. Yeah.
Most unhinged Is It Worth the Macros, in my opinion, of all time. It's the first one I'm actually scared about. And I saw this in the store and I had to get it. It is Cup of Noodles, Campfire S'mores. What the fuck? Is it ramen? Is it sweet? Is it chicken flavored? I don't know.
Yeah, so for those who cannot see the video, this is literally the cup of noodles that we all know, but apparently it's s'mores flavored, right?
Yes.
Is that literally what it is? S'mores flavored.
Campfire S'mores.
When I saw this on Instagram, I thought you were joking. I thought this was like a gag gift or something.
It seems like it's AI generated, right?
Yeah.
It says, with natural and artificial flavors, ramen noodles in sauce. What kind of sauce?
That's crazy. Okay, so first tell me what the macros are before you taste it, because I want to know just out the gate here.
Of course, I always do that. One whole package, which I guarantee you I am not eating, is 87 grams, 14 grams of fat for this motherfucker here, 61 grams of carbs, but 7 whole grams of protein, man. I just want to show
7
you
proteins.
this ingredient list.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty dense.
Yes.
Pretty dense of a list there. Any good victims on that list that, we know are terrible or what? Everything. Pretty much the whole thing. Is there anything should I say, let me reverse
There's
that.
honey.
Should I say, is there anything that's not terrible on that list, right?
I see honey. That's a
honey. Okay, there you go. There's some honey on it. That's an interesting choice. Well, let's have at it.
Way down the line.
Let's see what you think here, Caileen. I'm intrigued by this one.
So I was going to wait to open it with you guys because I wanted to show you guys the inside because I don't know. It smells like ramen noodle. It had marshmallows in it.
It had marshmallows in it.
It had marshmallows in it. So I'm gonna pull some up. Oh shit! I can't get it to focus. Do you see that little marshmallow?
I see something. It looks chunky. It definitely looks.
I'm gonna mix this up a little bit.
Does it smell like s'mores right now? First reaction.
No, it does not smell like s'mores.
Does it smell like
ramen?
It
smells like ramen. Yeah.
It's getting weird around here. I
am actually very self-conscious about eating this in front of everybody. So
that's all right.
Just listen to this on the podcast, guys.
Is it an inferno of pain? Was it super hot or you let it cool down first? I'm judging by your facial expression. You're not impressed with this flavor, but maybe you are. Let's see.
No. This is what the fuck is this?
So what's happening? Give me the breakdown here.
This is ramen. But I get no hints. I got to take a sip of this water and see. Yeah.
So did it just not taste like s'mores?
No. How did we actually expect this to taste like s'mores? It's fucking ramen. I don't know.
It has nothing to do with s'mores? So
I mean, it has marketing? A sweet hint of something. That's why I had to try the water. But when I get the noodles, I don't get any of the water with it. So when I just got the noodles, it tasted like ramen noodles, which, to be fair, as a kid, I jammed on this shit. I wouldn't even put the seasoning in. I would just eat the noodles plain because I was a fucking freak. So that's fine with me. But it definitely does not taste like s'mores. When I took the little sip of the soup or sauce, it's kind of sweet, but
we need further investigation into this. Is it supposed to taste like s'mores?
I think it is supposed to.
Maybe it's just some marketing crap. You know what I mean?
It probably is.
The candy that they say, oh, today it's a ghost. Well, you're not eating a real ghost. Everybody knows that, right? Maybe, I don't know. That's interesting. You might have to do a deep dive. So is it worth the macros though, either way?
I know, not for 14 grams of fat. That's a shit ton of fat there. It's funny though, because I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but my kid, she's 9 now, had her first bowl of ramen, this shit ramen, a couple weeks ago, and was like, oh my God, Mom, this is the best stuff ever. And I was like, well, shit. So this is only a sometimes food. You can have it once a week if you want, but this is not something we eat every day. And so we had it in the house, and I was looking at it in the pantry, and I was like, damn, I would love just a bite of ramen, just a bite to see what it tastes like again. And I just had my bite of ramen, and I'm like, no, it's not worth the macros ever. So that being said, for me personally, no, but I mean, it's unhinged. So if you feel like you're in that unhinged part of your life and you're going through a midlife crisis and you want to try s'mores ramen, go ahead and try it.
So where did you find this exactly?
Where do you think I found it, Brian? I found it on Walmart.
Did you? Walmart. Okay.
Where else would this be? Come on.
I was going to guess Sam's Club, but then I was like, no, you probably wouldn't have bought a 12-pack of that thing.
Oh, God.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So what's the rating then out of 10?
2.
2.
Maybe even 1.
The little list just continues. We need a full list that just runs at the end of all these episodes of all the things you tried with the rating. The Star Wars credits, just slow.
We should have a link.
We need to find, you know what though? We need suggestions, folks. That's what we need. Drop them down. Throw some food. Just because you're on prep, Caileen's on prep, doesn't mean she won't eat it. She'll find a way. And she may suffer the rest of the day, depending on the macros we find.
Will.
But hey, you know what?
Probably going to have GI distress just from that one bite.
We do this for you folks. And I say we when I'm doing none of it. But,
Caileen
does this for all the people out there. So now you don't have to buy the s'mores ramen unless you want the 2-star rating, right?
Yes.
That's it. So definitely comment ideas you have of other, or message us on Instagram. We'll get it.
We got a suggestion last week, but I found this ramen and I had to bump it. Sorry. So if you're watching and listening, I got your request. I need to actually buy them because you have to order them. They're muffins of some sort, buffin muffins. So that'll be on the horizon. Nice. We also in this trip bought pumpkin spice Oreos, which I cannot remember if I've gotten and reviewed, but I haven't had them yet. I'm saving myself for you guys.
Yeah. Might as well just do it anyway. Even if you already did it, go at it again.
Go at it.
Because, it's a progressive thing to decide what foods are worth your macros in a certain way,
That's very true.
Sometimes they are. Sometimes they may not be. And that could be a difference of a day, folks. Right?
That's true.
Sometimes that food, you make that choice. And sometimes you don't. Yeah. That's the way it goes. All right. So let's talk now some more serious information, serious things. Let's talk about your prep. So first off, okay, when was the last time you compete, Caileen?
The last time I competed was May of 2023. It was my first national show. Again, I've been doing this for like 10 years, but I always talk myself out of doing a national show because I was like, I don't want to. But then I was like, let's fucking go. Let's do it. So we did it, and even when I was backstage, I was like, damn, these girls are fucking huge. I need to grow, but, I'm like, let's go. And, of course, my feedback was to grow. And for those of you that don't know who are competitors, when you get the feedback that you need to grow, it's kind of some of the worst feedback you can get because that means you can go on with your journey, but it won't necessarily be fruitful to your cause. The only thing that's going to help you grow is to go into a gain season, in a calorie surplus to build that muscle. So once I got that news at nationals and I was backstage, I saw the girls. I'm like, yeah, I need to grow. So I was like, Ryan, we're taking some time off. I'm going to take a long time off. And you're like, I don't believe you. You're going to be wanting to go back into prep. Yeah. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And you're like, sure, whatever. And so we did. And we got the calories really fucking high. Was it 3,400 or 33?
Yeah, 34, maybe a little more, 34 something, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we went all the way to Gainesville. I was, let's talk weights. I was 111 when I last checked in before my show. So that is tiny. And at the peak of my gain season, which was about 4 weeks ago, I was 148. So that was a good amount of gains, man. And obviously it's not all muscle. I know that. I know I've acquired body fat, which is necessary to do when you are naturally trying to gain muscle. But it takes time and it takes food. And so, I don't know if you want to break it down here for any comments about gain season in general. Yeah.
I was just going to say, the way you approach your improvement season in general, the way we do for Caileen is going to be different for everybody, So if you hear 111, don't think that means that's the weight you need to aim for or anything else to be a successful competitor, right? That's different for everybody. And also how much you're going to gain in the improvement season, off season, if you will, as some call it, is going to be vastly different as well. And, like Caileen's feedback to build muscle, and as you heard in her statement about it, I was already skeptical that she was going to wait long enough to do it. So, we do pretty aggressive builds in a lot of ways because I always know that eventually some day is coming where Caileen will be like, hey, you know what? I booked this show. It just happens to be right after this cruise and I got to, so... I know already, okay, we're on borrowed time. So, I put Caileen in pretty aggressive kind of build modes in a lot of senses, and she makes good progress with that, So really, you just want to take from everything we're going to talk about in this episode. This is insight into her individual experience and what we do with that. It does not cross-correlate necessarily to every single other person. And, honestly, it doesn't at all. Because what you need to be doing is going to be different than what Caileen's going to be doing in pretty much all instances. There will be some similarities, like you lift and you eat, but, other than that, the way you do it is going to be different. So So we started that, the improvement season with the idea that we wanted to build a lot of muscle, which now I feel like we've done, right? So let's talk a little bit about, previous preps in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole audience out here I don't think we've really ever much talked about your prep on the show. We've just mainly done, a lot of specific content, if you will. But what are common things you would struggle with on preps, over time?
Yeah. So, previous preps, I think we've kind of mentioned it here and there that I'm just like slowly dying over here. It's like some of them have been harder than normal, but not that any prep is easy by any, whatever. But I will say a few things that I did different in my improvement season. I will say, again, I've been doing this for 9-10 years. Each improvement season, it gets better and better. My first year that I competed, I actually wasn't with Ryan. I was with an in-person coach at the time. In-person training sucks compared to online training, just saying that. But, I didn't know any better. I didn't know Coach Ry. He didn't come into my life at that point. My coach, coached me for my prep, whatever. I don't even know how many weeks I prepped. But then after it was like, okay, we're done. And then I just as any person who was very sweet focused did, just spent until I met Ryan, kind of floundering and not knowing how much to eat. I wasn't doing macro tracking at all either for that first prep. It was a meal plan. So,
right.
I got done and I was like, I don't know. And not that I ever blew up, but I definitely did not reverse, if that's what the question is. So then, I meet Coach Ry. He teaches me about reverse dieting. And, even when the ins and outs of reverse dieting, when you're an intro competitor, it's tough. I will say 1,000,000 times and a half, the reverse diet is so much harder than the prep diet, because when you have the prep diet, you've got that end goal. You're so focused. People are, cheering you on. They know you're not eating the shit, so they're not offering you the shit. But the second you step off that stage, people are trying to shove every sort of pastry in your mouth because they know you've gone without it for so long. But anyway, so each reverse has been better and better. And I will never say that I've had perfect reverses at all. I know last show day, man, I don't know if I told you this, but yeah, we went a little crazy on the, whatever, King Street in, South Carolina or whatever. Woo, we got a meal. Then I saw God in this ice cream place. I had an ice cream cone that I swear to God, I was like, I'm a believer now. This is the best ice cream I've ever had. And then we got a cookie, and I was so uncomfortable that evening. Yeah. So, that was still a little crazy. But then I was like, okay, I'm done with that, whatever. But some things I've done since my last prep and this very moment is, last August is when I started getting into my integrative health practitioner certification, and I started to learn a little bit more about myself. I kind of knew I always had gut issues. This is something Ryan has always talked to me about, or I've always talked to Ryan about. I'm like, I'm bloated. And then, so I ended up doing a 7-day detox first, and then I went into a gut protocol that was 12 weeks. And that gut protocol really helped me reel in my sugar cravings. I think I've talked about it on the podcast before. I would have undeniable sugar cravings. I was a sugar whore, as my shirt says. But doing that gut protocol really helped reset my sugar cravings, because it was very clear that there was imbalances in my gut. There's good and bad bacteria in the gut. I won't go into it on this podcast. If you want more info, of course, always hit me up on Instagram, or you can email me. I don't know. Hit me up on Instagram is probably the best way. But anyway, when you're imbalanced and you have more of the bad bacteria or bad yeast, they're going to make you crave sugar more. And it's just nothing you can help, really. As long as that dysbiosis is happening, they're going to want to get fed because they get fed by sugar. So you're going to crave it more. As much as you're trying to avoid it, you're going to have those mental cues. So that was the first huge change for me, that I was like, damn, it's I could have one bite of the cookie and be okay and not need more. The other thing I did was a heavy metal detox after that, because I did show elevated heavy metals of lead and mercury on my hair tissue mineral analysis. So in addition to eating a lot of food and lifting heavy, I was kind of doing a whole internal balancing of my body too, which I feel like has been really helpful because gosh, we've been in kind of a cut for like, you know, last 4 to 6 weeks, and I've dropped like 8 pounds already, which is insane because, you know, sometimes my body can be a little bit of a stubborn asshole, but here we are.
Yeah. And I think if we look at your journey, right, like the times that have been hard and we've still pushed it, we always get the result, people. This is what we do, right? Because like Caileen is very aggressive about her goals, and I am always as aggressive as my client allows me to be with their goals, right? Like, so when she's very aggressive, we leave nothing on the table in making sure we get these things done. So, I mean, that's how she has been able to prep, you know, successfully despite maybe struggles that she faced, or, you know, oh, why we stalled out, or now we have to do more cardio than we would have liked to, or we have to, you know, these things do happen. But there is also, you know, the fact to say that as you go through your journey, you learn a lot, right? Like what Caileen knows from competition 1 she's talking about to today, where we're starting another prep now. We, you know, are going into another season next year at this point. You know, the things that she's learned are vastly beyond that. So that's, again, a really key part of bodybuilding, right? Is that you should always be advancing, learning, and adapting, and realizing you never have the answers, right? Like that's the whole thing. I mean, the day that you think you have all the answers is the day that you're probably dead, right? Because that's the only, you just ain't thinking no more at that point because it doesn't make any sense. It's a journey that evolves and it continues to evolve. And the crazy thing is too, right, is even if you're like, damn, I really got everything dialed right now, in a year, that's different. In another year, that's different. Your body changes, your physique changes, you know, your metabolism, your hormones, whatever it is, the world's changing with you and around you all the time. So you always got to be adapting and learning and changing things. I mean, we could talk about Caileen's preps from before that we could call, I would say, ultra flexible, right? Ultra flexible in many ways. Let's talk about that for a second, Caileen. So some of those earlier preps, like I have a lot of fond memories of a lot of Nutella, seeing a lot of Nutella on, you know, your tracking and things like that. So, and, you know, keep in mind, guys, we still got the result. We still did it every time. It's been, you know, Caileen's been a very successful competitor, but there's things that have changed. I haven't seen Nutella on your food tracking in quite some time, I don't think.
So it did start to be used at the very, very, very ends of Gainesville because I was like, I hit my protein. All I need is carbs and fats. So what can I do? Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? Spoonful of Nutella. Let's go.
Right. But in prep, no. I haven't seen it in prep in a little bit, right?
No,
like, so
it's not going to happen.
Back in the day, you were much more flexible. And I think that there was a lot of reasons for that. Some of it may have been, you know, if I think about it from the coaching's perspective, right, like it was the best thing for you at the time, no doubt, but you've advanced further than that now, right? Like you've been able to delineate the food choices and also the coaching. Let's not sleep on the fact that you coaching other people has probably given you a lot of perspective as well into other things that work and those that don't, right? Because that's the easy thing everybody listening to this podcast can do, right, is everybody is an expert based on what they've done. But when you start needing to be an expert for other people, you realize, okay, well, why did this one thing that I thought would never work exactly for that person? And then when I think there's somebody like that, let me try something like that, and that doesn't work at all for them. Right. And so then you start to really learn those things. So I think as you went along, and like I did not directly ever tell Caileen to take things out of her diet, really, except for like Velveeta. Fuck
you, hands off my Velveeta. Just kidding.
But that was also late stage prep when we wanted to continue progressing and everything else. Right. So there's, you know, she organically kind of went through some food choices. So maybe you could give just a little insight to the average person listening here. What has kind of bridged you to be able to make better food choices? Was it the way you were feeling? Was it, you know, that you wanted to get better output in the gym? What kind of things did you notice in those ultra flexible preps, we could call it, versus more, you know, the last season where you definitely cleaned food choices a lot?
So here was the big thing. Like, so this was probably like end of 2019. Early 2020-ish. I'll have to go back and see. I did like a post about it on my feed, and it was kind of like my first like dipping the toes into the lab testing, I had this weird fucking rash on my lips that would not go away. My lips were like constantly peeling, and it was like embarrassing because this is your face. Like, your face is on display for everyone. And so, like, I had seen a dermatologist, and she said, well, maybe it's food sensitivities. And so I was like, you know what, let me get a food sensitivity test. And that was the first time I did that. And guess what was super high on my food sensitivity was hazelnuts. So
no joke.
Boom, hazelnuts,
Dang.
Nutella. That was the first step where I was like, shit, I have to give up my Nutella.
Yeah.
There was also like strawberries that popped, almonds that popped. I was eating almond butter because I thought it was healthier than peanut butter. A lot of people make that assumption. But the truth is, like, almonds are even more of a sensitivity for most people than, you know, the standard person. So if you're listening to this right now, like, take a food sensitivity test, man. Like, you know, I know a lot of shit is talked about them, but like, once I removed these things, my lips cleared up miraculously. It was like, finally I can, like, I wasn't wearing lipsticks at all because I thought that was reacting with them anyway. And it all started from this weird, like, multi-level marketing lip product that one of my members at the gym was selling, and I was like, oh, let me support her, but it just like ruined my lips. But they never got better when I stopped using it. So I think they just like destroyed some layer of my lip, and then like that layer of my lip was getting exposed to whatever sensitivity I was having. But anyway, like, along with that, like, I was just feeling better overall because, you know, when I was removing the things that I sensitivities, when you see your sensitivities, like, chances are, because I think corn was like a moderate one, and it's like, oh, okay, well, how many things have corn in it? You think maybe not so much, but how many things have corn syrup in it? And that, like, removes everything processed. So that was, like, the first step I took into, like, really cleaning up my diet. And, like, from there, I was just like, man, this feels really good. Like, I feel so much better. And you don't realize how shitty you feel until you remove the things that make you feel shitty. And then you're like, God, like, I can't believe I lived so much of my life feeling like that.
And that, yeah, that's a thing that, you know, a lot of people do not understand, right? But also, I think there is layers and levels to that, right? Like, I dare I say, back in the flexible era of you, right, where it was Nutella, you know, all these things.
Don't forget my protein powder obsession.
Yes, we had wild. If you guys had seen Caileen's food tracking back in the day, you should see if you can go back and find some, because that'd just be a great post, right? Comparison side by side today versus then. Because we got the same, you know, result, debatably, folks. Like, she still was successful in her competing journey. She still did everything she wanted. But, you know, you get to the other side of things, right, which I consider the optimization phase more so, right, is really as people continue to do it, and especially you now, like, as you said, you've been doing this almost 10 years, you know, you are far into the optimization phase, whereas somebody starting for the first time, if you try to give them optimization phase in the beginning, they aren't going to be here for it. They're gone, right? Because really, you know, your goals have tiers. Your goals have levels where you can go and what you can do. All depends on what you can maintain in a way, right? Like, you have to be able to go out and, you know, first off, like, the hardest thing for a first-time competitor is just getting to the stage. It's not, you know, oh, I got to do this and that, or maybe I should look at this. You know, all these things can help, but a lot of times people mentally, they can't receive those things at that same capacity, right? Like, you take somebody doing the, you know, standard American type of diet, eating whatever, they've never dieted before, now they want to be a bodybuilder. That's a radical change for you to realize not only is it going to the gym and, you know, nutrition, it's also making sure you're sleeping right, getting your water intake right, picking these shows right, you know, all these things that go into it. So I think, you know, looking back, there's nothing we could have changed at the times with how we did it. But now looking at it, there'd be things that we just would not do because of where Caileen's at now in pursuit of her goals and also what she knows. So, you know, it is something to be said for those of you out there that if you're hearing what we're saying, it sounds like, what, I have to do a food test right now? That's if you want the cheat sheet. You want the cheat code, right? There's still plenty you can do at any level. But if you want to go figure out the next levels, right, there are ways to do that. And, you know, it is crazy how much when you start to get in this optimization phase, so to speak, right, there's so many things that actually affect you that you don't ever think are, right? Like you never think about so many parts of our day are trying to ruin you and your goals, folks. I swear.
Gosh.
They're trying to take you off. They're trying to make sure you don't lose that weight, that body fat. You don't build that muscle. You don't get to that stage. And that's called everyday life. So, when you start to figure out how to get rid of those things, you do get these massive strides. And, obviously, Caileen's talking about, a rash that she experienced, things like that. Those are signs from your body saying some shit in our environment ain't working. What are you doing? Let's get it fixed. But again, it's one of those things people ignore. Those of you walking around with routine ankle pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, this pain, that pain, and you think it's because you did deadlifts 1 year ago. No, it ain't. It's something you're doing every day that's bothering your body, your gut, right? We talk about gut. You talk about Caileen is the gut health aficionado, and you hear about all these things that people just deem as normal. Oh, I can't eat this or I'll be blowing my brains out in the bathroom in the next 10 minutes, right? No.
Yeah.
This isn't but this is what people consider normal, right? So when you go into prep and you go down the path of any goal, really, you do have to learn along the entire process. And I mean, I've been coaching Caileen for, I don't even know how long now. How many years has it been? I was trying to think of this just like 2-3 days ago.
7 years ago. Just kidding. I think it was like in 2017.
I think it was too. I was like, because I was trying to think who's been around the long. And Caileen's definitely in some of the first tier of my online clients at the time, at least. But definitely a long time, and still to this day, we are. I got plans for this next prep that we've started now that will, again, be entirely new experiences, new things that we haven't done, new things we haven't tried, and because we can, right? So that's the interesting thing. You can consider the fact that we've been working together for years, and yet we are still going to optimize. We're still going to try to adapt. We're still going to try. We're not going to run the same thing we did last season. Why would we do that? We're not going to do the same thing we did the year before that. Why would we do that, right? And so it is
sanity, right?
Yes. Doing
the same thing, expecting a different result.
Yeah. So, we continue to optimize. So all of you folks out there that are trying to hit a goal, if you haven't hit it yet, or you want to continue, or you're a competitor and you want to continue to do better, revisit, try new things. I don't know why people are so afraid to try new things these days, right? Like Caileen talks about, the gut testing. She talks about all these different things all the time. The amount of people that listen versus the amount of people that are going to do those things is incremental, right? It's like, I used to say on other podcasts, like Ry Rant Radio and stuff like that, it'd be like, if one of you listen out of the tens of thousands, you'll be the only one that does it, because literally that's the craziest part. So more people need to be more open-minded to the experimentation of trying to figure out what's going to work best for you, because I guarantee you all don't know it yet. You don't know it. There's no way you know it, because you just possibly can't.
Yeah. And like the thing that kills me about the testing especially is like, yes, it can be costly. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But like I guarantee you, if you spent what you would spend on fast food and restaurants in a month and put that towards lab testing, that would cover it. Hands down. It would cover the testing that we need to find
Starbucks.
out what the fuck is going on with your gut and fix your chronic acne, your chronic joint pain, your eczema, your psoriasis, all that shit. Like, I can't understand it. But then again, like, I'm so deep in this shit that it's like, why wouldn't you do this testing and feel better every single day? Like, but I got to step back to see, like, 7 years ago, Caileen, she wouldn't have spent that. Yeah, no, she would have been like, fuck, that's so expensive.
No, I couldn't have convinced you. Yeah, I couldn't have convinced you to do it back then, no matter what, right? Even if we knew it would have been great. So that's my whole point. But either way, you always got to be open to the idea of figuring out what's going to work best for you. And that's really what, prep becomes. And so this prep, Caileen, let's talk a little bit about this now, because we've already clicked on pretty early. So what is your game plan right now? Yeah.
Okay. So if you do not know, we have the Team Flex cruise in October, but there's also the show early in 2025 that I have had my eye on. I checked with Ryan. I said, hey, do you think it's a good show? He says, yeah, it could be a good show. It is 20 plus weeks away at this point, barely. But, we have this cruise coming up, and I do want to enjoy some food on the cruise. I'm going to be going into it with a much better mindset than even the past couple cruises I've gone on, like, it's been a whole different mindset because I don't have those crazy sugar cravings. I've been able to, only eat one dessert instead of 20 like I usually would. So, but we want a little bit of breathing room. Like, we don't want to be playing catch up after the cruise to this show. So we implemented a cut about 4 weeks ago. I was like, dude, Ryan, I'm like so fucking full. Is there a way that we can still continue gaining muscle with a little bit less food? And so he did knock me down a little bit, and my body responded really well to it. And now we finally decided on that show. So we took it down like a couple hundred more calories. And yeah, it's just been like, we've only been on a week, and I've lost like 2 pounds already, which is like a good rate of weight loss. This way I'm coming into the cruise a little bit leaner than, obviously I was a little fluffier. I experienced chub rub for my first summer ever. That was not pleasant. I'm like, I don't ever want to be in gain season over summer again, because I like wearing shorts, but I did not like wearing shorts this past summer, because I was like, what the fuck is this shit? And my husband, who has like thunder thighs, is like, oh yeah, welcome to summer, like with thick thighs. And I was like, this shit sucks, man.
Summer. That's hilarious.
But the chub rub's gone already, so it only took like 8 pounds. So and the biggest thing I think this year that has changed for me, and this is kind of from my coaching, is that like the fucking sneaky snacking will really mess your shit up, man. Like I will be the first to admit, sneaky bites here and there. Oh, my scoop of peanut butter was a little bit more. Oh, I'll do that was 16 grams, And that will really fuck you up. Like, I see it now as a coach that I'm just like, man, like, your progress is stalled. Hey, you should be losing weight at this, amount. And it's like, oh, I only had a couple handfuls of nuts. And it's like, well, fuck, nuts are like, where was that in your tracking, first of all? And second of all, nuts are like the worst thing to get a couple handfuls of. That's just like, but you think it's like a healthy food. So the sneaky snacking, and I will say it's something I feel like, and I know another client of mine I feel like is also going through this. It's like you have your first prep and you are like so fucking strict on your first prep because it's your first prep and you're like freaking dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, getting the extra credit. Second prep, you're like, yeah, this is still exciting. And I will say personally that like as the prep's gone on, I just got more and more lax with my shit. And, surprisingly, also my preps got harder and I needed more cardio. And it's like, well, maybe it's because, I wasn't being my 100% best self. So that's also a huge mindset change. It's mindset, because you've got to be strong enough to be honest with yourself and honest with your coach too, to be like, hey, I'd much rather my client be like, yo, I fucked up. We were out to dinner. I know I said I was going to get chicken, but I ended up getting like the mozzarella sticks. And then I went into ice cream after, like so many times we talk about. And it's like, just tell me about that. And we'll work. Like your prep might be a little shittier after that because of that, because we might have to make up ground. Maybe not all the time, but like, just be honest with your coach, be honest with yourself. And especially if you're experiencing a plateau, really just take a look back and think like, did I really execute everything 100%? Or because even I feel like 95% in prep can be a huge deterrent to progress. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's the main overarching thing that I was getting when you were saying that is you got to meet people where they're at, for one, right? Like you got to know where overall somebody's capacity is, because not everybody is going to be ready to do, the top level all the time. And there is the thing where too, you got to be honest with yourself and your coach. Like you said, you got to always be upfront either way. And that I think is really important when you're, working with anybody, because if you don't have all the variables, it's guaranteed to fail. Like that is the real truth. And that goes both ways. So if somebody's out there eating XYZ that's not tracked and not paying attention, not doing this and that, or they're skipping cardio or skipping the gym or doing whatever, or adding extra sets, adding extra reps, swapping exercises, even like you can go down the rabbit hole all day on this, lying about how much sleep they're getting, lying about their water intake, lying about the alcohol intake, right? Like, hey, you know what? These things are normal, guys. This happens. It's human nature to, seek comfort and go out of your own way to fuck yourself out of goals. That's human. But what sucks is when you don't go talk about it, you don't go express it to your coach, you don't be honest with yourself about it, and then you go weigh in or you go try to figure out where you're at with your goal or your prep or anything, and you're not where you want to be. Because then you drive yourself absolutely mad. You get into your head and start going crazy. I'm doing all the things. But you know what? You're lying to yourself from the start there. If you're out there not doing everything the way that you're supposed to be doing it, and you pretend that you are, and then you go weigh yourself and you're not progressing, now you got 100 things to blame that are all in the wrong avenue. None of them will lead to your result. You can blame your coach. You can blame, your husband, your wife, your kids, the fact that only pizza was available at the airport. Okay, well, you know what? You could do all these things, or you can look at the real facts and say, maybe if you were a little bit more compliant, maybe if you did get that sleep, that water intake, you actually tracked all the food you ate, you stopped overdoing it, then you might have results, right, that you want. So that is the thing. And, as coaches, what we do, you guys, is we take somebody and we say, okay, here's this person, here's where they're at, here's where they want to be based on whatever goal it is. And we try to come up with the best plan. So if we have built the best plan that we believe is the best, and then you don't go do it, guess what? That would be like saying we got to take a cross-country trip to this state we never been to, in this city that we never been to. But you know what? We're going to use one of 78 different maps, depending what you decide, which road you decide to take that day. And only one of them leads to the end game. How the hell are we getting to that city, you guys? You wouldn't do this. All of you that, travel anywhere, you get on a plane, you look at the little thing every 5 minutes, make sure your gate's right, and you make sure it's the same airline, it's going to the same place. You get on the plane, you wait to hear them say, hey, we're going to Hawaii, everybody, because if they say we're going to Chicago, you're on the wrong damn plane, you guys. So you got to make sure that you understand the variables and, that you control them. And ultimately, that is how you get to the result. So I want to talk a little bit more about your prep specifically, though, Caileen. A lot of people probably heard we're over 20 weeks and are like, what the hell are they doing? Why are they doing that? So let's go into a little bit of those details, right? Like, why are we taking a longer approach? Obviously, you said the cruise, you want to lean out, but what other benefits could somebody get, right? If they've already made all of the ground in gain season, if you will, improvement season, what other benefits do you get by having a longer cut?
You can preserve way more muscle when you do a longer, slower cut. If you are doing how many prep coaches out there, 12 weeks out, they hit you with 800 calories, 2 hours of cardio. And Will you come in peeled? Absolutely you will, if you actually adhere to all that. But chances are you won't, because that is terrible. But
or if you survive.
Oh my God, right? But you are going to lose a lot of muscle doing it. It's the same thing with all these GLP-1, shots that are just making you eat less. Like, it's not the best way to do this, because you are putting yourself in such a freaking, and that's like a lot of the data that's coming out right now is like all these Ozempics, semaglutides, they're causing a lot more muscle loss than fat loss, because you're not getting the proper nutrients to your body. But anyway, that's a whole different subject that I can rant about for an hour. When it comes to prep, a lot of people get so hung up on show days in particular. And again, if they're not executing and you have to go to more of an extreme type of prep, you're going to be losing muscle. And muscularity is like one of the main things in these competitions. Yes, it's about coming in condition, but if you don't have the muscle, somebody who does have the muscle might even beat you out, even if you're more conditioned than they are. So you want to be preserving these muscles. You want to go about it in a smart manner, and that's what we're doing here. And it's just going to be all around a more pleasant experience. The calorie cuts will be more gradual. I'm going to be able to eat more over a longer amount of time. It's just all winning.
Yeah. And, I think that here's the truth, right? If you always give yourself more time than you need, no matter what, you're going to come out successful in the end of it, right? Like, you're always going to have people forget, right? There's a perfect plan, right? And this goes through every coach's head. This goes through every athlete, everybody. I want to compete on this day, this time. And then you know what? You're 8 weeks into that 12-week prep, and all of a sudden shit hits the fan in life. Something happens, and now you're not hitting the gym as hard as you should be. Now you're doing this and that. And, competing is expensive for many reasons. I mean, even if where it's really most expensive? In your time and in your energy and in your, output for the rest of your life. So if you're going to decide to do a prep, I find that it's much smarter, in my opinion, to do a longer prep than you need to. and do it more sustainably, still have a lot of time and a lot of freedom and a lot of ability to get the result in that manner, right? I don't see the point of doing short-term prep. Sometimes clients message me on Instagram. They say, I'm 6 weeks out, prospects, 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out, can you coach me? And I will say, no. Talk to me later or switch that show because no, I'm not going to take you. Like, could I feasibly do it? Absolutely. Can I get somebody ready in that time? Yes. But why would I take those measures to have somebody go through all that, which maximizes all the potential negatives that we can go through in this sport and, get less than a result? I'd much rather have somebody say, yeah, I'd love a 20-week prep than somebody say I want an 8, right? You can do both, but one of them is going to feed your goals a lot better. One of them is going to make your life a lot better. One of them is going to be a great experience. One's going to be a lot more fun. Let's be frank, right? Like everybody talks so serious about bodybuilding, like it has to be this grind, this gruel, this miserable thing that you hate every day, and competing is hard, and I can't wait till I can do X, Y. Okay, well, you're doing the sport wrong then, because bodybuilding is supposed to be something that can enhance your life. Any capacity, improvement season, gain season, comp season, all of the seasons, you should be able to look at bodybuilding and what you do with your training, your nutrition, your cardio, all of this, and say, these things I do because it puts better for me here, 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 here. If you can't do that, you're making mistakes. You're doing the wrong thing. And I'll tell you what, if you're one of those competitors that do that and you say, no, it's all about the grind. It's all about the, lower calories, more that I could do, more cardio, give it to me. I can take it. I won't see you on stage anytime in the next few years, because what will happen is you will burn yourself out. You will trash your metabolism. You'll trash your hormones. You probably will become an ultra loner. You won't have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife. Your family will suffer, whatever it is. And then you will ultimately have to quit competing to get your life back together. It's like you'll have to hit rock bottom from bodybuilding to be able to go on and have a normal life. And you can easily not do this, folks. You can easily not go down that path. You can easily say, you know what, maybe this Coach Ry guy's onto some shit here. Maybe Caileen's onto some shit. And we should actually be looking for bodybuilding and the sport of competing as something that makes us better for our family, for our kids, for our life, for our careers, for everything. And then also, of course, your kick-ass physique on stage. Because if you can't say those things, then what the hell are you doing this for? Feasibly, that's the whole mission for why I started coaching and why we do what we do and why we coach the way we do, is because if everything has to be miserable, then it doesn't make sense to me that you're doing anything that is worth time. It's like an analogy that I still use to this day that I thought was great. I used to have this client that I used to train in person back when I did this years ago. And he was like a 60-year-old dude, but he was like an epic surfer. I think he was a professional surfer, right? And this is when I lived in Santa Cruz. And everything he came to the gym for was to enhance his ability to go out and surf. And he would surf like 3 to 6 hours a day. This guy was like into it. He loved it. He's fucking rich, didn't care, had nothing else to do in his day besides surf, and that's what he wanted to do, right? So he's surfing 6 hours a day, and he would come in the gym, and he would always be like, push me harder, Ryan, push me harder, push me harder. And I said, you know what? Here's the truth, John. What we could do is you can come in here, and I can make you do 10 burpees on the minute, every minute for this entire fucking workout, and you will feel like you got a great workout. But what we have done in that 1 hour will do absolutely nothing for your goals or what you want to do. So do you want to have a workout that you think made you tired and that you did something, or do you want some shit that's going to get you results? Oh. And, that is the truth of everything we do. And that's the truth of bodybuilding. That's the truth of all of this, right? There is so much the point to say that just doing more does not mean you've done anything smarter.
Yeah. Oh my God. That rings so true to me. I used to teach group fitness, as we talked about. And, if these people, they want to look like me, but they don't want to do the workouts I'm doing. Because if I programmed a workout in the classroom of 4 times 10 heavy squats, 4 times 10 lunges, they would be so bored, with a 1 minute rest period in between. They wanted to be murdered each and every class. And I honestly felt guilty for it because if I didn't give them what they wanted, same with these Orange Theory Fitness, F45, these types of high cardio things, that are out there. Can you get results? Yeah, ish. Will you look like a bodybuilder? Absolutely not. Maybe very genetically blessed people But for the most part, these types of workouts that you're just going in, you're going balls to the wall for 45 minutes straight, and especially if you're doing it 5 times a week, that is just too much for your nervous system. Like, you're not going to get the results you want. I'm sorry to hear it. And that's one of the major reasons I switched from doing group fitness to doing online coaching, is because, like, with group fitness, I could help a small amount of people a little bit. You know, I got them a good burn, whatever. But with personal training online, I can help everybody in the world get the freaking best, because I can help them with every single aspect of their life. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a whole different world, right? Like, again, that's the optimization layer. If you're going from zero and you go do, you know, whatever, group fitness, any of this shit, it's better than nothing. Don't get us wrong.
For sure.
But to be, you know, in the zone to say what actually does provide you the best result. Because, you know, the frank truth is most people do fail, folks. Most people that set out on any fitness goal. Like, I was thinking about this the other day because I was seeing some kind of, I don't know, some sort of study research on, I don't know, projected outcomes for obesity or something like this, right? Like where they expect people to be like by 2032 and all this stuff. And I was like, this is going to be very interesting to watch in my lifetime, right? Our lifetime. We'll all be able to watch the basic total downturn of mankind, like to levels that we have never, you know, it's unimaginable. And so a lot of the things out there you can guarantee are not really working. And that's because everybody looks for these simple answers. Everybody looks for the one answer that's this. Okay, if I just go to the group class, if I just take the Ozempic, if I just do the 600 calories a day, if I just do 2 hours of cardio, no, it's none of that. It is none of it. It is literally all about figuring out, okay, what's going to work best for you, and what can you do every fucking day, and what can you continue to do every day, and then how do you do every day become a year, become 5 years, become the rest of your life? And how do you also make sure that all of what you're doing feeds everything around you? Because if it doesn't work anyway. I don't care if you go do the Stairmaster for 3 hours a day, if you know, it requires you neglecting your career or some other part of your life or whatever it is. If you don't pay your damn water bill, but you did 3 hours on the Stairmaster, you're fucking sucking at life, folks. That's the end of the story, right? Like, you got to figure these things out and figure out where it enhances you. And that's why, you know, really long-winded and totally off topic at this point from why we're doing a 20-week prep. But I mean, the short answer is because it's sustainable. It's maintainable. It's something that I know Caileen has a lot of plates she can spin, and she spins a lot of them. She doesn't like to drop them. So here's how we don't drop them. We don't do a 12-week prep. We do a longer one because also, you know, we can preserve a lot more muscle, and I know she can handle it. Plus, I already know we made the results that we needed. Otherwise, maybe if Caileen had not built enough muscle, I would have been like, nah, let's just, but you know what I would have said instead? I would have said, let's pick a different show. Because at the end of the day, I still know there's a formula and there's an answer and there's a reason for everything that we do. And that's the way you guys need to kind of approach your prep. So, you know, this gives a little bit of insight into what Caileen's doing. We're going to keep routine updates on this. I think just checking in, let's just check in with how you're feeling, how things are going, how your progress is, you know, and give people a deeper insight into what goes on in the mind of Caileen when she's on prep, right? Because, it is a unique experience, I think, that a lot of people could also relate to. So that's going to be exciting. Yeah. And, you know, is it worth the macros? Doesn't end. It doesn't go away. Anything you want to add in here, Caileen?
No, I think we hit it all, man. I'm just super stoked to, you know, give it my best. And that's the thing. We just keep on bringing better packages each year. And that's the main point. You know, like, trophies are cool and all, but like last year, I didn't come home with a trophy, but I was so freaking satisfied with how I looked. Like, oh, like, I go back and look at those pictures and I was like, God, like, we really fucking built something epic. And, you know, I just know I built muscle since then. And like, I'm just so stoked to see that, you know?
Yeah. And it's going to be, you know, definitely your best season by far for many reasons. And we will see what happens, folks. She either will make it or she won't. Stay tuned with us on the podcast to find out what happens next.
What a cliffhanger.
Yeah. And don't worry, we're not only going to do these, you guys. We'll be back to regular content as well, but we will do some updates along the road. So if you guys have more things you want us to talk about, ideas, things like that, we love your suggestions, your ideas, your thoughts. and we will bring them. We're kind of in a weird la here with the podcast. We're like, dang, we've said so many things over the years. So we might just start redoing some of it. I don't know what we're doing. Every week is a gamble. I'm always like, oh, Caileen is now harassing me about what topic we're doing, and I don't have an answer. So if you guys have some, suggest them. Drop it in the comments. We'd love to cover different things that you like. This show is for you. That's why we do it. We're sitting here doing this, and it's for you, right? So let us know.
Yes. See you guys later.